Ladies, let me say it loud. If you have to question his intentions, he's already failed the test. Period. Stop romanticizing red flags just because you're afraid to be alone. Trust is not given, it's earned. And some men aren't even qualified to apply. You are not hard to love. You're just too real for boys who were never meant to stay. So today, let's talk about the 7 unshakable signs he is not worth your trust. Not your time, not your tears, not your energy. You've probably heard him say, "I love you," but then he goes 3 days without replying to your messages. Or he tells you, "You mean everything to me," and yet on your darkest day, he was nowhere to be found. Baby, listen closely. If his words and actions don't match, the truth is in the silence between them. A man can say anything. The real proof is always in what he does, when no one is watching, and when nothing benefits him. Love isn't declared, it's demonstrated. Think about this. If someone says they value you, but you always feel like you're the one chasing, calling, texting, adjusting, and waiting, what does that tell you? That love is not a two-way street in your world. And trust me, any love that demands you to shrink yourself, to mute your own needs, or to pretend you're okay when you're not, that's not love. That's emotional starvation disguised as passion. Imagine this. You're sick. Fever. Headaches. Body aches. Barely able to lift your head. You drop a message. "Hey, not feeling well today." And what does he do? Nothing. No call. No check-in. Not even a get well soon in the gym. In the gym. Captioned, "No days off." 2 days later he says, "I miss you." Miss what? The version of you who tolerates emotional absence? Or the one who claps for him while sitting in pain? People lie, babe, but patterns don't. So stop being impressed with words. Look at how he treats you when it's not convenient for him. Look at what he does when there's no spotlight. A man who only shows up when it's easy is not a man you build your future with. He's a visitor in your life, not a resident. You deserve the kind of love where someone says, "I'll be there," and actually shows up. Even if it's raining, even if it's tired, even if it's mad. Because real love doesn't cancel on you. It doesn't need a reminder. Real love is consistent, not convenient. There's a story I heard once about a girl who got stranded late at night with a flat tire. She called her boyfriend. He said, "That sucks, I hope you figured it out." But she didn't call again. You know why? Because in that one moment, she realized something powerful. If a man can't show up in your worst moments, he doesn't deserve to sit beside you in your best. You can love someone with your whole heart, but if that love isn't being returned with action, it becomes a one-sided fantasy. And fantasies are beautiful until reality slaps you in the face. Watch how he handles you when you're not your best. When you're crying, when you're doubting yourself, when life is falling apart, that's when the truth comes out. Does he lean in or does he pull away? Does he lift you or does he add to your weight? A man who truly loves you doesn't just whisper sweet nothings under the moonlight. He carries your grocery bags without being asked. He remembers that you like extra ketchup. He listens even when you're talking about your bad day for the 3rd time. He doesn't have to post you online to prove you matter. His daily actions scream your name. So ask yourself, are his actions catching up to his promises? Or are you just collecting pretty words with no foundation? Because a love built only on words is like a house built on sand. The first storm will wipe it all away. He tells you he was at home last night, but something about his tone doesn't sit right. So you check his tagged photos, and there he is, out at dinner with friends. Nothing major, right? Just a dinner. Just a lie. But here's what most women ignore. It's never about the size of the lie. It's about the ease with which he told it. If he can lie to you about small things and sleep peacefully at night, what makes you think he won't lie about the big things too? Trust doesn't break in a loud explosion. It breaks in tiny, quiet cracks. Little inconsistencies. Little, sorry, I forgot to mention that. Little, it's not a big deal. Don't overthink it. That's how it starts. But what people don't realize is that those little lies add up like bricks. And one day, the weight of all that deception comes crashing down on your heart. And you're left wondering when the truth became optional. Picture this. You ask him, did you talk to her? And he says no, but your gut is telling you otherwise. Then a week later, you see a message, just a hey, but he lied. You confront him and he says, it was nothing. Why are you making it a big deal? But here's what he doesn't get. You're not upset over a message. You're upset because you were denied the truth. He chose to protect the lie, not the relationship. If someone lies to you to avoid conflict, what they're really saying is, your feelings don't matter. That in itself is an assumption. It's an assumption. It's an assumption. I can really destroy your feelings when I say, if you say you got by your cousin Joel, if you say, I live in a cell, matter as much as my comfort. And that, right there, is a red flag dressed in politeness. Let's not glorify manipulation. Let's not call dishonesty trying to keep the peace. That's not peace. That's control. I knew a woman once who found out her man had a second phone, a second number. When she confronted him, he said, it's just for business. But it wasn't. It was for secrets, for plans she was never a part of. But the worst part? He'd lied to her face so many times before, and she forgave him because the lies were small. The late replies, the changed stories, the I forgot. But truth has a way of showing up, always. And when it did, it tore her apart. A man who lies in comfort will never love you in truth. That's the rule. Real love doesn't hide. It doesn't dodge. It doesn't reshape the truth just to make itself look better. If a man can't be transparent with you, he doesn't respect you. He's just performing. And you deserve the real thing, not a polished version wrapped in half-truths. Think about the lies you've let slide. The ones you called harmless. The ones you ignored because you didn't want to seem dramatic. But each time you chose silence, you taught him that your boundaries were bendable, that your trust was for sale, that he could lie and still keep access to your soul. But baby, you are not a backup plan. You are not a convenience. You are not someone's test drive while they decide what they want. Every time he lies, even about the smallest thing, what he's doing is training your heart to doubt its own reality. That's not love, that's gaslighting. And you start questioning yourself. Maybe I'm overreacting. No, you're not. You're just reacting to someone who has trained you to lower your standards in the name of loyalty. Let me tell you something powerful. The man who respects you will never risk losing your trust. Not for a text, not for a moment of escape, not even for his ego. He will guard your heart like it's his own. Because lying, that's easy. But protecting your truth, that's rare. And rare is what you deserve. You've been dating for months, but somehow you're still a ghost in his world. He posts his dog, his lunch, his new shoes, even his gym water bottle. But you, not a trace. No photo, no tag, no mention. And every time you ask why, he says, I'm a private person. Let's be real. Privacy isn't the problem. Secrecy is. There's a difference between protecting something special and hiding something shameful. And deep down, you know which one it is. He takes you to places across town, never close to home. You meet his friends only in stories, never in person. You've never met his family. His co-workers don't even know your name. And yet, every time you bring it up, he has a smooth excuse ready. I just want to keep things simple. Or worse, you're too important to mix with all that. Don't fall for poetic lies. When a man loves you, he wants the world to know who you are. Not because it's performative, but because he's proud. Ask yourself this. If someone had the best meal of their life, would they keep it a secret? If they found the love of their life, would they act like it never happened? No, they wouldn't. When someone is proud to have you, you feel it in every introduction, every mention, every touch in public. A man who hides you is not protecting you. He's protecting himself from being accountable, from being questioned, from having to explain his double life. I remember this woman, smart, stunning, accomplished. She dated a guy for over a year. Not once did she meet his friends. She never got a birthday post, never had a dinner with his family. When she brought it up, he told her, I don't like people in my business. But guess what? One night she found out he was engaged to someone else. She was never his business. She was his escape. Let that sink in. Some people will keep you a secret just so they can be free to betray you in peace. You're not asking for a parade. You're not demanding fireworks. All you're asking is to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be treated like you matter outside of his room. And that's not too much. That's the bare minimum. If he can laugh with you in private but ignore you in public, it's not love, it's convenience. Let's talk about real men for a second. A real man introduces you without being asked. This is her. Simple. Direct. No fear, no hesitation. Because in his eyes, you are not an option 6, you are a declaration. A man who values you will never allow you to feel like a secret. He'll want his friends to see the queen who changed his life. He'll want his family to know the woman who made him better. And he won't be afraid to say, she's mine. You deserve to be with someone who holds your hand at the family gathering, not someone who scrolls Instagram beside you while telling others he's single. You deserve to be someone's yes, that's her, not someone's it's complicated. You are not a side chapter in someone's story. You are the whole book. So stop settling for roles that require you to shrink your light just to fit into someone's shadows. You are not hard to love. You are just asking the wrong man to do it. And if he needs to hide you to keep the peace in his world, then maybe his world was never built to include someone like you. The truth is, when someone is proud of you, you'll never have to beg to be seen. You'll never have to guess where you stand. You'll know. Because love doesn't hide. It celebrates. You walk into the room with confidence, ready to address something that's been bothering you, something real, something you felt deep in your gut. And he looks at you, dead in the eye, and says, "That never happened. You're imagining things." And in that moment, the ground beneath you starts to shift. Not because what you felt wasn't valid, but because someone you trusted just told you not to trust yourself. That's not love. That's gaslighting. A slow and silent way of convincing you that your reality is broken while he gets to rewrite the truth. One day you find a message, a flirty one. You confront him. And instead of owning up, he flips the script. "Why are you always so insecure?" You feel like the villain for asking. Questions about your own relationship. He doesn't answer, he attacks. He doesn't explain, he accuses. And suddenly, you're apologizing for reacting to the very pain he caused. That's emotional manipulation at its finest. When the wounded ends up comforting the one who did the wounding. Gaslighting isn't always loud. Sometimes it's subtle. He forgets plans you made and says, "I never agreed to that." He makes a hurtful comment and follows it up with, "I was just joking, don't be so sensitive." But sensitivity isn't a flaw. It's a signal that something matters to you. And anyone who tries to shame you for feeling deeply is simply afraid of your power. Because once you start trusting those feelings again, he loses control. A woman once told me, "I used to keep a journal, not for myself, but to prove to myself I wasn't crazy." That's how deep gaslighting cuts. It makes you question what you saw, what you heard, and worst of all, what you know. You stop speaking up. You start shrinking. You rehearse your emotions before you express them, just in case they're too much. But listen to me. You were never too much. He was just too small to handle your truth. He says you're overthinking. But overthinking only exists when communication is lacking. If you made you feel safe, you wouldn't need to decode every word, every pause, every mood swing. If he gave you clarity, you wouldn't be stuck in confusion. When a man says you're crazy after causing chaos, what he's really saying is, "I need you to doubt yourself so I don't have to answer for my actions." Let's be clear. Disagreement is healthy. Debate is normal. But gaslighting, that's a weapon. It's a slow poison. It doesn't argue with you to grow. It argues to erase your perception. And the longer you stay in that fog, the more you lose touch with your own voice. You stop recognizing the woman in the mirror. The one who once trusted her intuition. The one who once said, "I know what I felt." But deep down, she's still there, waiting for you to believe her again. Real love doesn't distort your mind. It brings clarity. Real love doesn't make you doubt your heart. It listens to it. So the next time he says, "You're imagining things," remember, your memory is not broken. Your feelings are not fiction. Your truth does not need his permission to exist. You deserve a love where you don't have to keep receipts, where you don't need to screenshot conversations to feel sane. You deserve to sit at the table of love with both your eyes wide open, not with blindfolds wrapped in pretty words. Because the most powerful thing a woman can do is believe herself again. Speak even when your voice trembles. Stand tall even when the truth tries to hide. And walk away from any man who tries to convince you that your reality is a lie. Something goes wrong. A fight, a missed call, a broken promise. You bring it up. Gently, respectfully, even emotionally. And he says, "Why are you always blaming me?" And just like that, the spotlight shifts. It's no longer about what he did, it's about how you're reacting. He turns your pain into your problem. That, right there, is a man who refuses accountability. And a man who can't own his actions will never protect your heart. He forgot your birthday. He ditched plans. He flirted with someone right in front of you. And when you confront him, he shrugs and says, "You're too sensitive," or worse, "I didn't think it was a big deal." No apology, no reflection, just silence, dressed as calm. But real calm comes from emotional maturity, not emotional avoidance. The loudest red flag is the quiet after they hurt you and act like nothing happened. Do you know what accountability looks like? It looks like, "I'm sorry. I didn't realize how much that hurt you, but now I do." It looks like changed behavior, not recycled excuses. It looks like a man who doesn't run when things get uncomfortable. A man who doesn't blame his past for his present mistakes. A man who doesn't say, "That's just how I am," as a way to escape growth. Because if he can't say, "That was my fault," how can you ever feel safe in his love? I met a woman who said, "He never said sorry. He just got me flowers." Sound romantic, right? Except every flower came with a fresh bruise on her heart. She realized that gifts without growth are just distractions, a cover-up, a shortcut. When you tell him something hurt you and he says, "You're overreacting," what he's really saying is, "I don't want to deal with the consequences of my actions." And girl, if you let a man get comfortable, never being held accountable, you'll spend your life apologizing for his behavior. Think of it like this. If you spilled water on the floor and someone slipped, would you walk away or help them up? Accountability is cleaning up the mess you made, not pretending the floor was always wet. A man who truly respects you doesn't leave you wounded and then acts surprised when you bleed. You says, "I did this, let me make it right." You're not asking for perfection. You're asking for presence, for awareness, for maturity. You're asking him to be emotionally available enough to admit when he messes up. Because love isn't about never hurting each other. It's about how we show up afterward. And if he can't show up after causing pain, he was never really there to begin with. You deserve someone who can hold space for your feelings without making it about their ego. Someone who doesn't run at the first sign of discomfort. Someone who chooses repair over retreat. Because relationships don't fall apart from fights. They fall apart when one person refuses to take ownership of their part. And if every conflict leaves you feeling like you're fighting alone, if every conversation feels like walking on emotional landmines, then ask yourself, is this love or is this survival? Because a man who avoids accountability doesn't just fail you, he teaches you to betray yourself, to silence your needs, to settle for silence when what you need is change. The most powerful kind of love isn't the one that gets everything right. It's the one that sees the wrong, owns it fully, and works to be better. Not just once, but consistently. Because true love doesn't fear accountability, it embraces it. You know that quiet voice in your chest, that gentle tug in your stomach that keeps pulling you back, whispering, something's not right. That's not paranoia. That's not overthinking. That's your intuition. And baby, she's never wrong. She's the woman inside you who sees what your eyes try to unsee and feels what your heart tries to ignore. When your intuition starts screaming, don't silence her to keep the peace. Listen to her, because she's trying to save you from the storm you're pretending doesn't exist. There's a moment in every woman's life when her body reacts before her mind does. He walks in a room and the energy shifts. He touches his phone too quickly. He avoids eye contact when you ask simple questions. It's not about proof. It's about pattern. And you can lie to yourself 100 times, but your intuition will keep knocking louder. Every time you justify the late replies, every time you make excuses for why you feel anxious around him, that voice in your gut, she gets clearer, sharper, louder, until you can't sleep, until your peace is disturbed by the truth you keep trying to bury. You go out with your girlfriends, they laugh, they joke, but your smile is forced, because deep inside, something is off. You check your phone not for messages, but to find silence again. He says he loves you, but it doesn't feel safe. He says he's loyal, but your soul doesn't feel settled. That's not love, Queen. That's disconnection wrapped in pretty words. And no amount of affection can override the warning signs your spirit is flashing like red lights. I remember a woman who said, I couldn't explain it. He did nothing wrong. But I always felt like I had to watch my back. That's intuition. That's ancestral wisdom living in your bones. We are generations of women who had to learn the hard way that being polite can cost you your power. That ignoring the signs can break your soul. Your body knows long before your mind wants to admit it. Don't call it anxiety. Don't label it fear. Sometimes what we call fear is actually truth in disguise. He tells you you're crazy. He says, you're imagining things. But every time he leaves, your stomach drops. Every time he texts late, your hands tremble. That's not insecurity. That's your inner self saying, he's not it. Wake up. And here's the truth. The longer you wait to listen to your intuition, the louder your heartbreak will be. Your inner voice doesn't come from weakness. It comes from wisdom. From everything you've survived. From the moments you gave people the benefit of the doubt and got broken instead. From the late nights you cried over someone who swore they'd never hurt you. That voice isn't here to scare you. It's here to protect you. To pull you out before the damage becomes a scar. Look around. Every woman who finally walked away did so not when she had proof, but when she had enough. Enough of the lies, enough of the emotional chaos, enough of silencing her truth, just to keep someone else comfortable. Your intuition isn't loud for no reason. She's tired of watching you shrink in a love that was never meant to hold you. You don't need a dramatic betrayal to leave. Sometimes the absence of peace is the only betrayal you need. If your heart feels uneasy, if your nights are filled with questions, if your love feels like a riddle you're constantly trying to solve, you already know. You've always known. Trusting your intuition is not weakness. It's rebellion. In a world that tells women to be quiet, to endure, to wait, trusting yourself is your loudest, most powerful act. So the next time that voice whispers, this isn't right, promise her you'll listen. Because she's not just trying to protect your heart, she's trying to remind you who you were before you started doubting yourself for love. You see, love isn't supposed to feel like a guessing game. It's not supposed to leave you anxious at night, staring at your ceiling, wondering if you're the problem. You were not born to chase clarity in confusion, or beg for loyalty in a room full of doubts. Real love, authentic, soul-nourishing love, doesn't hide, doesn't manipulate, and it damn sure doesn't make you question your worth. And if you have to shrink to fit into someone's version of love, baby, it's not love, it's survival. Every woman listening to this needs to understand something timeless. You don't have to prove your value to someone who can't see it. Diamonds don't beg to shine. The sun doesn't apologize for rising. So why are you apologizing for asking for honesty? Why are you apologizing for feeling what you feel? For wanting what you want? For dreaming of a love that doesn't leave you in pieces? It's not weakness to walk away. It's power. Power in saying I deserve better. Power in choosing peace over pretense. Power in realizing that being alone is not the same as being lonely. Some of the loneliest people are lying next to someone every night who makes them feel invisible. And you, my love, were not born to be invisible. You were born to be seen, felt, cherished, not tolerated. Let them call you too much, too loud, too emotional, too aware. Because what they call too much is exactly what someone else is praying for. One day, you'll meet someone who won't be afraid of your fire. They'll sit beside it and add wood. But until that day comes, protect your flame. Don't dim it just to make someone else stay. If they can't handle the heat, they don't belong in your light. Listen, the woman who rises from betrayal isn't the same woman who fell into it. She's sharper now, wiser, more discerning. You may have trusted the wrong one, but don't let that stop you from trusting yourself. Because your healing isn't just about getting over someone. It's about coming back home to yourself. And when you do, when you truly reclaim your space, your silence, your softness, no one can ever use you again. There's a line every strong woman crosses. The line between hoping he'll change and realizing you've changed. You're no longer waiting for apologies that will never come. You're no longer holding on to potential while drowning in the reality. You're no longer begging to be chosen, because you've finally chosen yourself. And in that moment, in that divine, quiet, powerful moment, you become unstoppable. The woman who knows her worth can walk through fire and never get burned, because she is the fire. She doesn't chase, she attracts. She doesn't beg, she blesses. And she doesn't settle. She sets standards that shake the ground beneath those who never deserved her in the first place. I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. So become her. The woman who turned every lie into a lesson, every tear into strength, every betrayal into rebirth. You are not broken, you are blooming. And every scar you carry is just proof that you survived what was meant to destroy you. Let this be your reminder. The strongest love you'll ever find is the love you give yourself. And once you fall in love with your peace, your power, your potential, you'll never look back. You'll never chase shadows again. Because you were never meant to settle in silence. You were meant to roar. They tried to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds. Let them go. Let them doubt. Let them watch you rise. Because the woman who chooses herself, unapologetically, fiercely, completely, is the most dangerous force in the world. And trust me, darling, the world hasn't even seen your final form yet.